This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post. And with me, per usual, is Kenton Williams, who is a staff reporter, prognosticator, knowledgeable about most things in sports.
Yeah.
And it is Friday, February 7, 2025, 1 week before Valentine's Day, for those of you who are actually tracking these sorts of things. What's up?
Well, the Hornets like to make us look silly
How so?
because Wednesday we're over here talking about, well, it doesn't look like the Hornets are going to make many moves. And then they end up making quite a bunch of moves. Midnight, a little after, I'm well into my slumber. And all of a sudden, they decide to make a deal with LA. They send Mark Williams to the Lakers for Dalton Knecht, who many thought they should have taken in the draft anyway. So I guess these things work themselves out. But they also got Cam Reddish and a first-round draft pick and a pick swap from the Lakers. So I guess when you get rid of AD, you really need a big man. So you're willing to give up quite a lot.
Well, actually, I think the Lakers got exactly what they wanted. And I kind of hate that he was dealt by Charlotte, because he's exactly what you need in the modern NBA if you're talking about a big.
Yeah.
He's athletic, runs well. He's not a liability on offense. And he's young. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
But their next deal was with Phoenix, and they got Jusuf Nurkic. So it's not like they just got rid of a big man and didn't replace him. And from a lot of what I'm reading, a lot of people tend to think LaMelo will mesh well with Nurkic and how he works in the pick and pop game and things of that nature. So who won this trade? The Lakers won. Because you get rid of Mark Williams, although we know now that need of a big man's filled in Charlotte. So you lose Mark Williams, but you get a shooter. I mean, two shooters, really.
Yeah.
Reddish just wasn't getting much run off the bench in LA, but he might see some more time on the floor now. I mean, who knows? I want to say the Hornets won this. I mean, a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me, but Mark Williams hadn't proven to me he can be on the floor for a long enough time without getting hurt that I would be worried to say, oh, you can't get rid of him. He's an untouchable. Well, he's not on the floor anyway. So,
well, that may be true. But on the other hand, injuries are part of the game. It's not like he has spent way more time on the injured list than actually playing. But I can see where the Hornets actually needed they need the shooting.
yeah.
And it's still an offense that is not getting that kind of connectivity, especially with LaMelo Ball and just all the other stuff that goes on with that, with his injury history. Brandon Miller's gone for the season. So you're going to need some offense somewhere. And if Knecht can do that, especially with the injuries that they've already had, there's plenty of room for him to play.
Yeah.
If he, and it's not like he was putting up terrible numbers with the Lakers. He was only playing 20 minutes a game, averaged 9 points. I think that's pretty serviceable for a rookie that is joining a team that has playoff, if not championship aspirations. So I think that he'll be good. Cam Reddish, he's already a journeyman, but does he bring anything? I think the major addition for the Hornets is Knecht. Reddish will be a body, but Knecht has a future.
What do you think about the 2031 unprotected first round pick?
That's a long way out. How many dudes are going to be on this roster in 2031 that are on it now? Obviously, some long-term planning. Who even knows if the Hornets front office will still be in place by the time that draft is held? So the Hornets are leading the league in stockpiling these days. They've got all these number twos. They're swapping number ones with the Lakers. They gained a number one. So the future, if the future pans out, could be pretty promising for the Hornets. But right now, yeah, you may as well just strip the whole thing down to the studs and see who on this roster can actually play.
Fair enough. I tend to agree with you. I really like adding Knecht. I know those that have followed my Hornets coverage for the post. Now, since I started, I when I did the pre-draft, outlook, Knecht was one of the ones that I wanted. I thought his ability to stretch the floor, adding shooting to a lineup that, quite frankly, needs it. I thought he was the best fit. Then all of a sudden, reports start coming out that they're taking some Frenchman who's now been down to the G League and up to the NBA and down to the G League. Mm-hmm. So can't say I told you so on that one.
But you did.
I told a lot of people so on that one. Dalton, his game, it fits the modern league. I mean, he can not only spot up shoot, but he can also create a shot from time to time. He's not just a stationary type guy. One guy that I'm really surprised that JJ Redick was so willing to part ways with, and I know a lot of these decisions come from way above the head coach, but he is JJ Redick. I mean, he can create his own shot. He can move. He can facilitate on the defensive side of the ball too, just communication wise. I like it. I like it a lot. I think he'll fit right into the starting lineup, even when Miller returns at the next season. I mean, if you have a starting lineup of LaMelo Ball, Dalton Knecht, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Jusuf Nurkic, that's not terrible.
Well, you said the same thing this year.
But none of them can stay on the floor.
Well, that's the great unknown with this group, because the way it looks, regardless of who owns this team, regardless of who the GM is, regardless of the head coach, injuries and the Hornets go together like peanut butter and jelly. And there's no getting around that. This team can never reach its potential without some consistently good health. And that's the great unknown with this group. And it's been like that for years now, or so it seems.
And as media, it's almost discouraging because, like, you see potential and you see the talent that's on the roster, but it never seems to fortify itself by having all the players available at the same time. So I'll give the Hornets at the trade deadline grade of a B+.
Really? Because of Knecht?
Knecht, and they addressed the issue of not having a center immediately. It wasn't like they were just saying, okay, well, let's send Mark Williams off and we have no plan. Very next trade, I mean, you're getting a former first rounder for 2 seconds. I'll take it. I mean, Vasa Misic, for crying out loud. He wasn't a terrible player for the Hornets, but Jusuf Nurkic is better.
He's also like 30, somewhere in there. So how close is he to the use by date in terms of a long-term solution? Keep in mind now, Mark Williams is in his early 20s.
Yeah, but we've also seen how injury prone he is already in his early 20s. So what's to say
he can grow out of that?
What's to say he's even playing at all by the time he's 30?
That could happen too, or he could be an all-star.
Let's don't wish that on the Hornets, because watch him go to LA and
it happens with these guys.
Well, Luka and LeBron start dishing him tons of assists, and Mark be a 18 and 12 type guy,
or heaven forbid, all pro, all NBA rather.
You got a long way to go for that, but
well, yeah. But I like the ingredients that he brings when healthy, and I just think that he has way more upside. But that's just me. And they traded him away. The Hornets are dealing centers like it's gone out of style. So, it's like none of the 2 centers that you traded this year are better than the dude that you brought in? I don't know.
I'm gonna leave my grade where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
B plus. I don't. Like I said, covering this team is quite quite difficult at times. But I'm gonna be working on a more of a column style piece, something a little different that you hadn't seen from me. This is news to him too, so
It sure is.
I'm gonna
Can't wait.
I'm gonna do kind of a grades and analysis and my own type of column on this because I was gonna do how the Hornets have fared without LaMelo, blah blah blah. We've heard this.
And seen it too.
That's the same old song and dance we've talked about. We talked about it, games after Brandon Miller missed. Y'all don't want to hear that. I'm gonna give you analysis from this lovely brain of mine, and I'm just gonna give you some thoughts and opinions in journalistic form about what this team needed, what they got, where they can go from here. And so, without spoiling all the good stuff that I've got circling around in my brain, that's what I'm going to be working on. Those of you that read my Hornets coverage, you'll want to tune into this one. Herb's going to have a fun time editing it, I'm sure.
Oh, we'll see about that. But at any rate, it's appropriate to roll that out in terms of where this group goes from here. But in the meantime, I wonder though, what number will young Dalton get here? I mean, because everybody was talking when he got to Los Angeles, the number 4. Connect 4.
Oh dear.
Just saying. I mean, maybe, just maybe, that's the number that he'll get. Even though marketing in Los Angeles is way different than marketing in Charlotte, so he might be 44 for all we know. But that's to be determined, I guess. And because of this, there's also a game tonight with the San Antonio Spurs, and I wonder how many of these guys will actually suit up, understanding that there are certain logistics when you get traded, like packing up your stuff and getting your physical and meeting people and making sure that you're ready to play. So whatever that is, I guess last week's shocker, Anthony Davis for Luka, neither one of them have played for their new teams yet.
And Luka's start date keeps getting pushed back further and further. That was one trade, kind of pivoting from the Hornets. I didn't mind because I thought it benefited both teams, especially now that the Lakers, obviously they've got Mark Williams, so they replace the center production. Now, no, you're not going to replace a guy that's a walking 25 and 13. That's not what Mark Williams is going to bring, but you're adding a guy who can be a walking 30, 10, and 10 in Luka.
If he's playing.
If he's playing. And he hasn't really had a ton of, at least historically throughout his career, injury issues. He's missed significant time as of late. Mm-hmm. But it's not something that's plagued his career like my little ball. So I think that it was an interesting trade, but one that's gonna work out for both squads because you can move Kyrie to the point, or you can even have Spencer Dinwiddie run the point and keep Kyrie at the 2 guard. It adds some beneficial offense rather than just lob guys. Now, if you watch Daniel Gafford against the Hornets, you thought he was an all-star.
All world, yeah.
But the point is, you've added a center, or shoot,
4.
You could even, I was about to say, you could even play him at the 4 and play Gafford or Lively at the center. So Dallas, I wouldn't write him off. Losing a guy like Luka is tough, but I think that trade benefited both teams.
Who has the better chance of advancing in the Western Conference playoffs then?
No one. It's Oklahoma City's to lose.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, would the Lakers have a better chance of making it to, let's say, the conference final, or Dallas, based on what's gone down in the last week?
I would tend to think the Lakers, And I mean, just pairing two players as dynamic as LeBron and Luka together, that's. I mean, LeBron's had some great duos and even trios in his time in the league, but this one might take the cake. I know he's on the way back into his career, but LeBron and Luka, that's, in my opinion, that's better than LeBron and Wade.
Really?
Hot take. Don't shoot.
No. I mean, it's your take.
They
Go
were
take
young.
it.
Okay, they were younger, and so I guess if you're wanting to factor that in, LeBron and Wade was probably one of his best duos if you're talking about age. But skill level, man, Luka's special.
Yeah, and maybe this trade will be the wake up call that he needs because if you believe the media narratives that were going around coming from Dallas, the allegation was not only is he not necessarily physically able to play because of the calf strain, which oddly enough keeps people out for months on end, or so it seems,
Yeah.
but there was the concern about just his physical fitness. And he would come to camp a little overweight, if not pudgy, according to folks.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for a sport like basketball, you need to be as tight as possible in order to get up and down in the modern NBA. Now, granted, not everybody has done that and had Hall of Fame careers, but I think it would behoove him to be paired with a teammate like a LeBron James who's going strong at 40 and still is pretty chiseled
Yeah.
for the purposes of playing basketball at a high level. So maybe he'll turn Luka on to his dietitian or his strength coach or guru or whatever, and we'll turn him around. But we'll see about that. I mean, success is a fleeting thing in the NBA, and he needs to exercise that in order to reach maximum potential, I think.
Fair enough. The weekend ahead, what are we looking forward to as we bring this plane to a landing?
Well, I guess there is that Super Bowl thing, um, but I think locally tonight's Hornets game, how this group responds. Uh, you're already short-handed. You may be even shorter-handed now. Where is this group's mental acuity? What are they thinking of in terms of opportunities? Or is this just another brick in a really bad season? To me, I think that is going to tell us we'll get a good sample of where they're going for the rest of the year because now you can no longer swing trades.
Yeah.
So help isn't coming. Everything you have is all you're going to get right now.
Yeah. Are you going tonight?
No.
Oh.
I won't be going tonight. At least that is the intention at this point.
Got to get Herb to go. But anyway, I think it'll be I think the Spurs will win this one.
But there is a Wembanyama effect, and maybe folks will actually show up for that.
Who knows? The plan is to go pending some car things going on right now, but I should be able to get out there tonight. Will the Hornets? It all depends on who plays. Yes, but they gotta stop losing these games by like 10 points. It's like they tease. It's like they're right there, but they can never cut into a lead and overcome a deficit. And they've been losing these games by 10 to 15 a lot lately, and it's been hard to watch.
Well, that's what happens when you lose a lot of games. It becomes more difficult as it goes because I'm sure the players and the coaches have their own frustrations by the lack of success. And the game that we went to Wednesday, perfect example. There are a lot, and granted, it's midweek in Charlotte, but there are a lot of fans disguised as empty seats for that game.
Yeah.
And there is no hope of getting to the playoffs. So folks have a tendency to kind of tune out. But we will soldier on because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
And we appreciate you checking in with us for this podcast. Be sure to go to our website, thecharlottepost.com, become a donor or a subscriber to the publication. It's easy enough to do. Just go to the website, click on the donor button, the subscriber button, and help yourself to becoming a subscriber to our weekly newsletter where we recap all the sports stories that we've been working on. And we've been working on a lot lately. Football, of course, basketball, of course, high school to professional, and we appreciate your participation in helping us to deliver first-rate journalism on a local level. So, for everybody here at the Charlotte Post, I'm Herb.
Oh, and beautiful Derida.
Beautiful Derida.
He's Herb. I'm Cam.
Thanks for listening and watching.